It's December 21st, 2017. And it's super late at night. And I just woke up. It's my morning. So, I just wrapped up this Dragon Ball Z cover for a French gaming magazine, Le Game. And they're pretty awesome. I did a cover for them a year ago for this GTA anniversary for Grand Theft Auto. And so they came back this year and said, hey, would you like to do a cover for Dragon Ball Fighter Z? And they've really been wanting me to do something like the Leia cover that I did for Retro 2 years ago. If you haven't seen that piece, it's Princess Leia with like 1 million plushies in every Star Wars game ever made, pretty much. And that thing took 100 hours. And I haven't done anything quite like it since. Done little versions of it. But when they said, hey, you wanna do this cover, we need to buy it, between the 15th and the 20th or so of December. I said, yeah, I'll do it. Even though I did not have the time to do this. I have a saying, and it's that opportunities arrive at inopportune times. And my experience in life has been that creatively, sometimes even emotionally, something you've always wanted, that you've dreamt about, will arrive and present itself at the exact moment at which you cannot do it. If it's time, you would have had plenty of time if it was just a month ago. If it's energy, you would have had plenty of energy, but now you're sick or you got health issues. If it's a matter of talent, maybe you just burned out, and that thing you always wanted to do arrives. And so that's when you gotta make a choice, right? Do you power through it, right? Do you roll up your sleeves and risk breaking something, inside you? Or do you say, hey, just not a good time for this? And I've done both. I had an opportunity. I've had a lot of opportunities, but I've always wanted to do some kind of art on a game project. And I had an opportunity about 4 years ago to do all the cutscene art for a game called Wolverblade. And there's an indie game being made by this guy. He goes by Fully Illustrated on Twitter. I'm brain farting right now. I think Mike. I get him confused with someone else. Michael Hurd, right? Michael, and super awesome guy. And I've been a fan of Michael's website design stuff for a while. When I was at Game Fan, making new Game Fan, Michael's sense of web page design was very inspirational towards laying out that magazine. So he had hit me up out of nowhere, said, I love your art style, would like you to do whatever you do for the cutscenes. Doesn't have to match the art in the game. And he was going to pay well. Problem is, it arrived right at the time I had done this first Power Prints. And 4 or 5 months before that, I did the Game Cave Kickstarter. And my business partner wasn't managing the finances very well. And I was just trying to wrap up the Power Prints project and get it shipped. And I just couldn't take on one more project. I tried. I remember sitting down and drawing some stuff as some tests for him and to see what he thought. And he really liked it. And he's like, that's awesome. I want you to do that. And I just said, I sat on it and I said, I just can't take one more thing on right now. And I was afraid I'd be the reason he couldn't ship his game, And so I passed. And he's like, oh, that's a real shame, And I told him, I'm like, yeah, I know, but, I just had to say no. The game is shipped a couple months ago, and it's on the Switch. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's a side-scroller, Golden Axe style brawler. And Michael did all the art inside it. The cutscenes, he got Red J, John Samavina, Red J, to do the art, and it looks great. And you see that project, and it's been reviewed well. It's a solid game. I played it, and John's artwork is amazing, and it would be great to have that. Like this year, I could have had that project completed. But I didn't. I wasn't willing. Beyond willing, I was also afraid that I was gonna not be able to help him complete his dream. So someone else got that opportunity, and it turned out to be a great product. But I do think, looking back, I could have made that happen if I had just put my foot down and got rid of my business partner at the time. Been like, we need to part ways, and I'll take this over. And I could have solved that. But there you go, right? So, that being said, this cover arrives, and I just wanted to spend the remainder of my year working on some contract work and getting power prints done. Now, I do have to do a Dragon Ball Z piece for the power prints. And so to do a cover for the game magazine, I was like, well, I could roll these two together. Two birds, one stone. And I know they wanted a piece like the Leia cover that I had done. So I thought, hey, naively, right? I'm like, hey, I can see, let's see how far I've come in 2 years with drawing and coloring this stuff. Some of the things that I've been working on are the designs of plushies. If you look on the Leia piece, they were all like sack heads, like big heads with little bodies. And so I wanted to do plushies that were more based around the shape of the characters, which involves an element of character design. Not a lot, but an element of character design. And the other thing was coloring the Leia piece was a fucking nightmare. It was a nightmare. At the time, I was doing all of my shadows by hand, like just drawing the light sources in and then cleaning them up. And over the past year, since the previous cover I did for the game, I've been coloring with the lasso tool, drawing in selections and airbrushing in highlights and stuff like that. So I wanted to see how far I could push that. I had already done a bit of that with the Game Informer cover, so I knew what I got that coloring done in about 12 hours or so. And when I had colored the Leia cover, I think I spent 2 days, 20 something plus hours coloring that. So it was curious. That being said, I was curious to me to see how I could improve. That being said, I did not have I didn't have that fire to get this going. And when I got the Game Informer cover, I was pumped to get that done. One of the things I've worked on over the past 12 years on any complicated project is, rather than shirk responsibility in the beginning and put it off and drag, and then at the very end crunch to get it done. What I've done is I've done a lot of that crunch in the beginning of a project. So rather than pulling 16 or 18 hours a day at the end of a project, at the beginning, I'll spend 2 or 3 days doing usually 12 to 14 hours, maybe 16 at the beginning, just for a day or two, to get all the research done, to get the roughies done, to get the development, to get the construction, and sort of drive myself a little crazy for the first 2 or 3 days. Usually the first 2 days, if it's a 50 to 100 hour piece, so the first 2 days, to get really in there and just get it settled. If it's a 24-hour piece, like a Transformers cover, it takes a lot. Then I'll just spend 1 full day cramming everything in, and then I'll work for 4 hours a day on the remainder of it. And then the last day or two I have before it's due, just kind of tweaking it and plussing and making alterations. So it's like a burst of energy at the beginning, then like a nice steady flow with a little crawl at the end, which means when I'm done, I'm not exhausted. Because what will happen is when you post work and people like it, they immediately want another one. And if you get job offers at the end of a project, after you're already burnt the hell out, you're not going to want to do anything else. So this method of working, which only works in this studio, by the way, because I control the hours I work here, right? In-house, like at an art studio or something, you're at the mercy of everyone else. That doesn't really work as well. But here, it's worked very, very well. Except there would be basically 2 reasons why it won't work that way. One, health. If you're having health issues, medical, or you're just sick or under the weather, obviously it's going to prevent you from doing that sort of thing. I've been sick a couple times in the past few years, so it gets there, but it's not really been a big issue. The other way that this doesn't work out is if you just don't want to do it. And in this case, I mentally did not want to make a piece that involved 40 plus characters and 20 to 30 games with 70 to 80 unique elements that all had to be hand-drawn and figured out and then inked and then flattened and then colored and all that stuff. I just didn't want to do it. And so I drug some ass at the beginning of this. Like I just was like, I just don't want to do. I did want to make the cover. Like I wanted the cover. But for some reason I just didn't want to do one of these pieces again. I enjoy the plushy stuff and it's fun because I like giant controllers and I like being able to show the games and the layouts. But it's always like this catch with me. I look at the art and I'm like, how many hours for things that are just going to be tiny? You can't really see a lot of the stuff. Or I mean, you can when it's up close, but my Game Informer cover was a way around that, where I was drawing dynamic characters while mixing in little toys and plushies. But the layout of the layout cover is a character posing centrally in full size on the page, and then surrounding that character are all the toys and plushies and stuff. And that layout, I don't know, I'm of 2 minds on it. One, it works, and it's nice because the sizing of the plushies and everything doesn't compete with the characters. The downside is that it's just a ton of little things, and I think obviously just the mental stamina of gathering all the characters, blocking in all the basic shapes, figuring out each character's design. When I first did the layout piece, like I said, they were all sack characters. So big head, little body. That was so I could very quickly just draw the characters. And some of them got things that were closer to their real design, like Vader and Chewbacca, but they were mostly little sack characters. But then, some of the complaints you hear is that doesn't look like Rey, or that doesn't look like so-and-so. And with Dragon Ball, I knew that wasn't going to work. So over the past year, I've been working on just how do you design, the plushie so that it can be the characters and not just sack heads, basically. And so it's 39 plushies in this piece, so that's 39 designs. And 39, anytime you do a pass, it's 39 times. So to draw all the basic lines in roughy form, 39 times. To clean up those roughies, 39 times. To add thick and thin and an outline, 39 times. To do the selection flats, 39 times. To do the coloring flats, where each little piece of their clothing and their hair and their skin tones get actually colored in, 39 times. To do the underlighting, the basic underlighting of the characters where the light source is coming from the floor, 39 times. To airbrush in behind the character a bounced light, like a little bit of green bouncing off them based on the world coloring, 39 times. To add a glow, you see where I'm going with this? 39 times. To add little speculations into their eyes, 39 times. So you start to realize that's like 200 something passes before you even get to the main characters now, and the background element with the dragon and stuff, and on the cover, the two main characters are really what's going to be seen. Then inside the magazine, they'll show this whole other piece, but it wears. and I actually got ahead of schedule. I was behind at first, then I picked up the pace, and then around this time last week, around Wednesday, I was ahead of schedule. And they needed it, at the time they said they'd prefer it by Friday, but Monday was cool. And I was like, I'm going to be done by Friday. They said Monday they wanted it. And so I was like, I'm going to be done by Friday. And I'm going to have my whole weekend off, and that's going to be nice. Something happened Wednesday when I was at the point of doing the selection flats. I got an email from a company that had been following my artwork for a while and wanted to know if I wanted to do character designs on their game. Big company. On some games that haven't been announced. And it wasn't a matter of was I good enough to do it? It's they specifically wanted me to be a part of the project. And I decided their NDAs, and I filled out all the forms, and I had the conversations, and they wanted a quote, and I gave them a quote, and they said immediately, yes, we want you on, can you start? When can you start? And all that happened right when I was at the tail end of this other cover, and I didn't know how to take it. I mean, at first I was like, yeah, no big deal, problem. This is going to be awesome. And then I started looking at, the other people on the project. And these are people that, I respect and look up to. And I can't say their names because I don't want, can't talk too much about it. But it was intimidating. And then threw me off. Just to get updated on what they were doing took a full day. Then to have my own opinion on which way to go with certain things was about half a day. And then I had to go back and work on this, and opportunities arrive at inopportune times, don't they? So look, it's awesome to be able to do some of the stuff that, at some point I'll be able to talk about. And I'm working on it right now, actually. But that being said, you're just going to have to make a choice sometimes and do the best you can to not break anything, creatively, like sitting too long or getting burnt out or crazy. And I wish I could give you a one quote piece of advice to help with that. The only advice I can give you is that it's normal to feel that way, to not want to do it, or to be not motivated, or to be kind of like burned out a little bit. It's normal to feel that way. And in most cases, I would say at that point, stop everything you're doing and go get some sleep and take a break. And that's 98% of the time I would say do that. Case in point, today I slept. But you could wake up and still not want to do things, even though you do, but you don't. You really want to do it, but you don't have the energy to do it. And in that case, I think the thing I do is I go back to when I was 15 and looking at game magazines and Wizard magazine and going to Comic-Con. And I have to say, what would 15-year-old Rob, what would he say if he could see what you could do? And he saw the opportunities you had, what would he say? And he would say, fucking do it. He'd go, are you crazy? What is wrong with you? I don't, yeah. You can act like a man. No, 15-year-old Rob could see that. He would just probably give me a big hug and say, I believe in you, man. You gotta do it. This is the dream. I never would have thought it would be possible. And it's that kid I don't want to let down. That's what motivates me. It's December 21st, 2017. And it's time to go to work.